So I think the first thing to say is that the SU already had a lot of provisions in place before this campaign started. Student safety has always been our number one priority. So before this campaign started, we already had spikies available free behind the bar. All of our staff were trained on drink spiking awareness. We had nightly staff training briefings, and we had a search policy. Obviously, in response to the campaign, we wanted to develop and make some new measures, anti-spiking provisions, to make sure that student safety is absolute priority. So we've ordered some more anti-spiking devices. We've increased the frequency of random searches, but as well as that, we've made sure, and this has been the case for a long time, but all of our staff are trained in equality and diversity to make sure that those random searches don't disproportionately affect marginalised communities, which is something that's really important to us. We've introduced a safe space outside the nightclub, so if students are feeling unwell, they can go to that safe space. And we've also recently introduced a safe taxi scheme, so if students need to get home after a night out, they can use that, and our bar staff are trained in that as well.
What was the safe space?
Safe space, so it's just outside the plug and tub, so if students are feeling unwell whilst they're in school or class, they can use that space. Just have a lie down if they need to. So I think in an ideal world, none of these measures would be needed, and all students would feel safe in all venues without the need for any anti-spiking devices or anything like that. We are quite a long way off that, and I think the way to get to that point is through a collaborative approach with Bath Spa, with the local police, with the local community, and with all venues across Bath. Me and SU President Annie do have a meeting with bars and clubs across town next week, where we'll be discussing how we can move forward collaboratively. But I think working towards making sure that all security and staff are trained across all venues in kind of spiking awareness, in welfare, in bystander training is the best way forward for now. But I think making sure that this is something that best practice is shared across, and I think that's something that our open letter should help with, which will be sent out to all venues to kind of gather what they're doing, so we can share that. We can share what all venues are doing to hopefully make the venues realise that other venues can have ideas that they might be able to use, so that the best practice can be shared, so that students can feel safe in all venues they go to in Bath. I think the Big Night In is just a start. I think it will be effective, and I think it's already been really effective to increase awareness. But I do think it's the start of really important work that needs to be done, and it's kind of hopefully the trigger to making sure that that collaborative work goes forward, and awareness keeps going, and training keeps going, and best practice is shared. I do think it will have an impact, because I think venues will see that students aren't attending their venues, and hopefully the letter will help students recognise why that, venues recognise why that is, because a lot of the venues maybe on Wednesdays aren't expecting big numbers anyway, so if we send that letter, hopefully they'll realise why they might have fewer people there. But I think, yeah, it is just the start of the work, and I think it will have an impact, but I don't think it's enough, really. Yeah, so when we started thinking about our campaign, there were a huge number of different nights in happening on a huge number of different days, and there still are. But at the time when we started, it was spread across loads of days, and we wanted to make sure that our campaign had the biggest impact possible. So when the national campaign started, we looked at what it was asking venues to put in place. And we went to our plug and tub, and the plug and tub agreed to put those provisions in place. So we knew from that our plug and tub had already put those provisions in place, and we were working towards that, so we'd agreed to do that. So we wanted to make sure that the campaign and the boycott had the biggest impact possible, so we decided to do it on Friday. The reason being that Friday is a day that the venues in town will notice that students aren't there if we were to boycott on the Friday. Whereas on the Wednesday, venues in town won't be expecting as many students, so wouldn't have noticed it as much. So that's why we chose the Friday. And we listened to student feedback on that, and we did our poll, and students said they wanted the Wednesday, so we followed that, and now we'll be boycotting on the Wednesday.